Anytime you're going to position your company for sale, you have to do a lot of research. You should talk to a number of PE firms, but also talk to the folks within the strategy. Talk to Kris Werner. For us, you can talk to guys who joined us 3 years ago. Talk to the executive leadership team and try to get an understanding of what the long-term vision of that organization is. And do you think they're going to be successful or not?
Processes and people. So you have to have processes from the customer through the whole customer experience, from the lead generation, taking it through the sales process, through the production. And so having a process that works, that's duplicatable, that your people can do.
Hey, how's it going? It's Tim Brown, and this is the Hook Better Leads podcast. And today I've got Kris Werner on from Werner Roofing
The
and
man.
Joshua Sparks and from Infinity Home Services. And I'm excited to talk to both of them about this journey. Kris on the getting acquired side and Josh on the acquiring and partnering with them, as well as several other roofing companies. So we're just going to talk about that process. But I'm going to go to you, Josh, first. Give me that little bit of the background of the fund and what's been going on.
Well, I'll give you a background on myself. So I'd like to start with a little personal introduction. 45-year-old father of 5 wonderful children, all the way ages 20. My daughter's going into the Navy. And I've got a 4-year-old daughter running around the house right now. So if you hear some noise in the background, that's her. So started a roofing business when I was 18 years old, right out of high school. Realized over the course of about 4 or 5 years as a subcontractor that there are a lot of unscrupulous contractors in our space. And so decided to spend every penny I had on a full-page Yellow Page ad in 2005 and set my vision, which is to rid the world of unscrupulous contractors. Over the course of about 15 years, I hired a lot of great people. I kind of figured out how to market. I learned how to run good, strong operations, and ended up partnering with private equity when we hit about 40 million in revenue back in 2021. Since then, we've made 22 partnerships in the last 3 years. We're coast to coast, border to border, and up into Canada, still serving that same mission to save our communities from unscrupulous contractors. And one of our most recent partnerships are with Kris Werner and his team over in Michigan. Absolutely fantastic, salt of the earth human being, and I'm really excited to be partnered with him and his team.
Awesome. And then I'll transition to Kris. Kris, what was a little bit of your background, and then going into this partnership, what are some things that you've kind of found out about yourself?
Yeah, so we built it organically. Started in 2008. Built it very organically. Weren't really aggressive with growth early on. Just wanted to do a good job. In hindsight, that was a great thing because we've been able to build a great brand by just taking care of our customers in the community. And so, never even considered. I was getting all kinds of inquiries about private equity. Didn't really even understand it. Didn't pay much attention to it for a while. Then started to, it piqued my interest enough to start talking about it. And then kind of got ourselves into a better position. Learned a lot along the way. Didn't even know, a couple of years ago what EBITDA was. So it's a great learning experience. I guess what I found out, I get two things. One, I found out we do, we realize that we are good. We do a really good job for our customers. And so, partnership with Josh and the Infinity team is truly that. It's a partnership. So that's probably I mentioned it a little earlier when we were chatting, is the partnership is, I can't understate that word enough, because we still have our brand. We take care of our employees. We're in better position to take care of our employees now because we have better HR. We have an HR department. We have a safety department. We have better benefits, 401k. We're actually in a better position to serve our community, so we can provide better value through volume purchasing. So all in all, a win for everybody. Better better position for us to take care of customers in the marketplace and our employees. So it's been a great fit.
The dream of every entrepreneur is getting a hold of some of that equity and looking at it in the face. Do you feel like you got the chance to really look at some of the cash finally here in a chunk format, Kris?
I didn't never dreamed that we would be in the position to be able um, to take advantage of the brand and the equity of the brand. And so it's allowed us to do that, is to kind of take care of our family long term. But at the same time, Josh warned me about this. He says, you're going to get into it. And I hear this from a lot of guys. You're going to post closing, you're going to get all fired up. And I've told him a couple times since then, it's true, because I have all this fuel around me of fellow brand presidents, of support of IHS, whether it's marketing, safety, technology. And so,
Wait, why is that bad? The idea of or what was that about the getting fired up?
oh, he said, you think, well, once you're acquired, you're going to take the foot off the gas. It's like,
Yeah.
no, I'm actually I have more energy now to build it than I did 2 years ago. So,
Hmm.
he,
That's cool.
yeah.
Yeah,
Josh,
definitely. I hear that. I hear that all the time, Tim. It's funny. Guys are like, "Hey, I'm gonna have a liquidity event. I'm gonna take some chips off the table. I'm gonna have a few $1 million or sometimes more than that, and I'm gonna be in a position where I can go on vacation to Florida and feel all excited and not have to work so hard." And then what happens post close is that they have access to all these tools they didn't have before, all these new partners, welcome them with open arms. And again, these are all the original founders who started these businesses, still running them post close. And so you have all this entrepreneurship energy running through the company, and you just get motivated. You want to
hmm
win. We released KPIs across the entire company every week, and so everybody knows where everybody stands. There's this
mm,
internal competition that happens, and folks just get out there and work really hard. So it's a
that's
pretty
fun.
cool pretty. And then there's some tomfoolery that happens on the chat, because like if
Yeah,
someone
good.
hits a big week, and so it's fun. It's a good competition.
I I never underestimate the power of contests, even like with like in my company as account managers, and I'm like, let's get some referrals going, like with our current clients, like, and so and last quarter we did reviews as a contest. So I can only imagine, and we got like 50 new 5-star reviews, which is crazy. I can only imagine it being between companies and looking at like the sales goals and how big of a like fun push that would be.
Yeah, and our companies range in size, So we had one brand that did over 7 million last month in production. So the chat was going wild. But then, Kris and his team at Werner had a record sales month this month. And we had another brand that had a record sales month. And so when you see that go in the chat, it just drives the competition across the brands. And it's awesome. It's because the difference as well is all of us own each other's companies. And so we all have equity in each other's companies, which is the best part about it because
Mm,
you want to see them win. You've got this competition. You started this business. These are your people. You poured your blood, sweat, and tears, and you still want to see your brand win. But hey, you're okay if they're winning over there because you're a partner with them. So
talk to me about, so you were a shingler. How long did you put on roofs?
about 5 years.
Okay.
Yeah, about 5 years. I,
And
I took a job. Yeah, I was working at McDonald's and had a friend of mine. Um, yeah, actually, sad story. I'm not going to tell it now, but a friend of mine who got me into the roofing business. I was playing softball with him when I was just got out of high school. Got me into the roofing business. I was making 4.15 an hour, and he said, I'll pay you $9 an hour to clean up the ground. And I knew nothing about roofing, but I knew $9 an hour cash was way better than 4.15. And so I took the job. And look, it's an interesting industry, right? It's incredibly low barrier to entry. But if you're an industrious young kid and you work really hard and you have some moral scruples and take care of people are going to refer you. And so that's what happened early on for me. I just kept trying to do a good job for people, and our
mm,
industry was thirsty for that type of entrepreneur, and it wasn't there. And so I think that is what made me successful. And I lived in every role, Tim. So I sold for, after I got off the roof, I hired a few people and I had all in-house labor. So I kind of got the crews out in the morning and then I went and sold. Probably until I got about 6 or 7 million in revenue. I hired my first sales guy. And then I just started building the company from there and really trying to become a better leader as the company scaled way past my ability. I graduated high school, but I didn't go to college. I don't have an MBA. And so I had to continue to read and learn so I could stay ahead and make sure I wasn't doing a disservice to the growth of my business.
Mm. So I love that, and I think that's kind of where a lot of right, a lot of roofing companies have to be, and business owners in general. Because the crazy part is they don't give you a handbook. The
Mm-mm.
closest thing I may have found is like the EOS traction book, but literally there's like no handbook for small business. And
And this is
man,
where I think a lot of those PE
yeah.
guys are going to not do well. If they think that they can take a guy like Chris or a guy like me or a guy that is running a very successful roofing company and transplant them with some 24-year-old right out of college MBA student, I don't think they have the bandwidth or the entrepreneur drive to be able to deal with the wide breadth of things you have to deal with as an entrepreneur. As
Mm,
a roofing entrepreneur, you got to deal with roof leaks at 9:30 or 10 o'clock at night. You've got to deal with marketing and PPC and SEO. You got to deal with employee relations issues. You got to deal with upset customers and scale and the government and licensing. And it's such a you know, you have to be just a very strong generalist,
mm,
and not a lot of folks can do that, and that's why I think you see a lot of failure in the industry. And then take that type of person, and then as you start to scale the organization, they have to continue to improve as leaders. And I think that's one unique thing that we have is we help our entrepreneurs continue to grow both through best practice sharing, but also through our HR team. So.
This is a subscription to knowledge, the most in-depth knowledge that you can find in our industry. We're spending the money to make sure that our production value is so high that you'll actually absorb the information and feel like you're getting something premium at the Building Experts Institute.
I think just to add to that, I think the um, being a partner that IHS leaves, they want to support the brand. They don't want to dictate what the brand does. So, for example, we're GAF guys, Premier Certainteed guys. A lot of them are Owens Corning guys. Some of them are trash talking because some are LP and some are Hardy. So there's little friendly jabs here and there. But at the same time, and so the whole, Josh and the team is just to support the brand. We can make the decisions on what products we're using. I mean, even our pricing is set by us, and maintained by us. But if I want to do siding and do more siding, or if I want to get into windows, I've got guys that are doing it at other brands who can guide us through the process. So we mutually support each other in that way.
mm.
Yeah, good color.
I appreciate that. When you're talking to a business owner that you might want to work with them, but they're also talking to another private equity company, what are some of the things? And I respect what you're saying about the like spreadsheet jockeys that, I mean, really it's the grit and the granular, like you're saying, so many different things that you have to do as a business owner, grit and very specific stuff and managing people on very specific
Managing
stuff
people.
that you might not understand. How are you going to advise on that if you've never been there? That's a difficult thing. Um, but what else besides that do you sometimes bring up as things that you guys might do a little better or different from these other private equity companies? Essentially, we're looking at the problems that some private equity companies have as they come into the roofing industry.
Well, they're trying to learn the space. A lot of private equity companies right now are coming in, and the way PE works is these are roll-up strategies. And so they come into a highly fragmented industry like roofing, or they did it with HVAC. They've done it with garage doors and other home services industries, and they do it with vet clinics, and they do it with hospitals. It's done all over. But the strategy is to go in, find a platform, and then acquire that platform, and then buy multiple add-ons at lower multiples. And a lot of these companies live off of what's called multiple arbitrage. And so they make book value dollars, but they don't make real improvements to the organization. And so and I know that's
Mm.
a bit bit complicated, but
No,
they
that's so simple. They're not making actual improvements to the business. They're bundling and wanting it to be worth more, which it is.
it is sometimes, and this is the interesting juxtaposition. It's like on paper it could be worth more, but can you sell it? That's it. Can you actually
Mm.
realize and exit? Because these private equity companies at the next level are much more in tune and are getting smarter to business collectors, they like to call them. Whereby anybody can go and raise capital today. There's trillions of dollars on the sidelines in private equity. Anybody can raise capital and buy businesses, but can you go into a business and improve the business, improve the customer experience, improve the leadership in the organization, and pull growth levers that not just immediate growth levers where you extract and you maximize profit in a very short term, but build a long-term stable business that in 5, 10, 15 years is gonna be a consistent revenue and EBITDA growth business. And that's what we're trying to build here. And we believe the best way to do that is by empowering our founders like Kris to stay on, continue to run the business, but provide support. And there's other PE firms that want to come in the space and say, either we're never going to sell or they don't want to give equity, because what they're doing is they're running the spreadsheets behind the scenes and figuring out their MOIC, which is their multiple on invested capital. How much money can they make? And all of their calculations are done on how much money they can make. And then they tell the entrepreneur, don't roll your money, take your cash off the table. You got a great business, but you made it, take your cash off the table, don't roll money. Well, the first question you should ask yourself is, if that's true, why is there billions of dollars pouring into the roofing space right now with outside capital? Because they know the value of these businesses long term are going to be worth more. And so stay in your business, roll equity, see that wealth creation play over time. My executive chairman, Steve Stagner, was one of he's helped start a mattress firm. He's one of the original investors, original franchisors, excuse me. And he became the CEO, and they went through 4 iterations of private equity, so 4 turns and before they went public. And that is how you create wealth. That's how you create long-term wealth. You're not getting taxed at the highest income rates. You're getting taxed on long-term capital gains. You roll a few $1 million, that few million turns into a few million more, and you continue to roll and you create wealth for generational wealth for your families. And so that's what we're building.
A lot of them tell you to. Sorry, I'm just challenging you to make sure that the feels fresh here.
Yeah,
A lot of them are trying to push people to roll money, though.
good.
Um, how are you, from your perspective? What percentage are you trying to like get people to roll in, or what is your perspective on that?
Yeah, there are other great PE firms out there that are trying to
Hmm.
do the right thing. They're trying to build great brands, no doubt about it. But there's something like, I was on an OC webinar and they said there's 1,000 private equity companies in our space right now. So I mean, maybe only 100 that are active, but so yes, 100%. There's other PE firms out there that are engaging well with these entrepreneurs. That are inviting them to stay on and roll equity, and those I applaud those folks for doing that. But there's others that aren't. And so anytime you're going to position your company for sale, you have to do a lot of research. You should talk to a number of PE firms, but also talk to the folks within the strategy. Talk to Kris Werner. For us, you can talk to guys who joined us 3 years ago. Talk to the executive leadership team and try to get an understanding of what the long-term vision of that organization is, and do you think they're going to be successful or not?
Hmm. So, what are a few other problems that you're seeing with some of these roll-ups? And I'm curious how you're solving for them.
Problems that we're seeing with the other roles. Well, I'm not.
Yeah, like I like what is broken? What are a few things that you've seen that are broken? We're not going to name names. I'm just curious, like, because
Yeah,
if there's 1,000 of them, hey, maybe we could be useful to a couple of them. I don't know, but don't do
yeah.
this.
Yeah, well, I think a lot of entrepreneurs are told that nothing changes, continue to run your brand, status quo. You just keep doing what you're doing, and then what happens is some of these companies will come in and buy a few too many too fast. They won't have good infrastructure in place. They won't have good support mechanisms in place. Maybe the numbers go a little sideways at some of the brands, and because they haven't either come onto the same CRM, or they haven't gotten their business KPIs aligned. They have no visibility into how to help those businesses. So I would say that businesses that scale, I think Jim Collins says, beware of the undisciplined pursuit of more. And so, companies that scale to scale, buy to buy, without having good infrastructure to support that growth, I think it could be problematic.
Mm.
Um,
But like the money is, if some of these private equity firms, it's like it feels like they've got unlimited money. Can you give us a little backstory here for folks? I always ask this question, but where the fuck does the money come from? You know what I mean? Like for us average Joes, we don't really see where like tens of millions and hundreds of millions of dollars is kind of like we're like skeptical. I think that that's always almost like an objection. Like, why would they give me
So they
many
get
millions
money.
of dollars?
Here's what they get money from institutional investors. They get money from ultra high net worth investors. They get money from endowment funds. Think like Pension Fund of California. Where do they make investments? Think these big dollar funds. What they do is they have options. They can go to the public markets and get a 6 to 8% return on the public market, or they can look at the private markets through these private equity funds who have historically returned a little bit better returns, and they'll find a fund that has a history of acquiring businesses, adding value to those businesses, and then exiting those businesses and returning good investments. And so they'll make big investments. There is like $4 trillion. It might be more now. I might be misstating this, but there's at least $4 trillion in money on the sidelines. And so this is committed capital. So I invest in some other private equity funds. They say, hey, do you want to commit to this fund? Let's say you're going to put whatever it might happen to be. You say, yes, I'll commit X dollars to the fund. That fund then has to go and find good assets to acquire. You're committed to that capital, but they got to go find those businesses. There's like 4 trillion in committed capital right now that's out there, dry powder, that has not bought businesses yet. And so there's a ton of money on the sidelines that's looking to buy businesses. So some are going to rush in to buy assets that maybe aren't the best, because they want to deploy the capital. They want to get that money working, because when it sits on the sidelines, it's not making any money.
If you truly believe in what you're doing and you want to be the best version of yourself and you want to build a great organization, there's no other place to do that besides the Roofing Academy.
Totally. What else do you think we should be knowing right now? We're talking about the problems within the private equity space for roofing, but we're also talking about like anything else you think people in this discussion should be knowing? Like one specific question here. When is the getting gonna be less good? Because there's people, there's people that are trying to like do this, but like maybe next year, or maybe I'm
You're going to
trying.
see this.
Yeah. Okay. Well, so it's gonna go up and down. So it's not like if you don't do this this year or next year, you're not screwed. It's just gonna come in and out.
Yeah, it's all going to depend on, well, we know who won the election now. It's all going to depend on, what the debt markets does and what precedent transactions are. And so when some of these aggregators go to sell the businesses, they've been paying a certain multiple for the EBITDA they've been acquiring. When they go to sell the businesses, it depends on the multiple they get. That'll either drive more investment into the space, or that might scare some investors because they're not getting the returns they thought they were going to get. And this happens. It's happened in the HVAC business over the last 15, 20 years. You see multiples go up and you see them come back down. And a lot of that happens because the debt markets, interest rates, or a business or two did not trade at the multiple that they thought. And so then PE firms get scared.
Josh, give me that economic update. We just got a new president elect. Well, how do
Yeah.
you think that will affect roofing private equity?
Well, I mean, you saw the stock market this morning jump through the roof. So I think investors are excited. I think the fact that we don't have um, the proposition that we're going to tax, unrealized capital gains on the table anymore. I think the taxes will remain flat or even decline. And so I think
So
that's
it's
going to
probably
spur
going to
investment.
keep people bullish. It's already bullish right now in
Yeah,
roofing private
exactly.
equity.
I think that's going to spur further investment into this industry. And we're in a great business. This is great for both sides. It's great for private equity because I think in a couple ways it's going to help professionalize um, really a fairly untrustworthy and unprofessional business historically. When you went out and got three estimates or four estimates, you got four different quotes for four different products, three of which probably didn't meet building code. And then, it was just it can be a nightmare. And so I think with the investment in PE, it will help deliver a better long-term customer experience for the people. It also
Mm,
provides for the entrepreneur, the roofing entrepreneur who did not have a saleable asset before, an opportunity to exit with real dollars because you created real value. Yeah, I mean, Wall Street Journal is funny. I had a bunch of people send me an article, the Wall Street Journal article, where it talked about the next generation of millionaires are these HVAC contractors. And I said, I've been telling you guys this for years. And all my financial friends and people that I know are like, wait, blue collar people are making money? I'm like, yeah, blue collar people are making money, man. These guys are getting paid millions of dollars for their businesses. And by the way, they were making millions of dollars a year before. Uh, so yeah, it's
yeah.
interesting. Interesting times.
The
Yeah. And
just
this is kind of like, yeah, sorry, go ahead.
Sorry, I was going to say, just to add to what your question regarding, the window, when, how long is this going to last? I think for the guy, maybe the guy that's, listening, the owner, the founder that's wondering, what do I do, how do I get ready? Um, you know, for me, what I found is, there's a couple things. One, obviously you have to be profitable, and Josh can, speak to more of that. But really, it's processes and people. So you have to have processes from the customer through the whole customer experience, from the lead generation, taking it through the sales process, through the production. And so having a process that works, that's duplicatable, that your people can do, and then having the people that can literally could, like right now, you could pick me out of the business and take me away, and Werner Roofing would be fine. And so that's a big piece of it too, is having
Mm.
the the manage, the production managers, the sales, someone handling the sales, someone in the office. And so those are the things that, if it's something you're thinking about, those are the things you really need to have in place.
Let me pick your guys' brain on that topic. Because this is like, I'm always trying to get rid of this. Because my homies in private equity that I chat with, they're always like, the key man problem. Because our company has a key man problem. I'm the face of the company. I do all like the crazy marketing stuff, whatever. And I'm always trying to figure out how to, one, still leverage the good things we have, which I happen to be one of them. Ding. And then also try to slowly decrease that key man problem. And I'm sure there's roofing companies around the country that have the same issue. And how do you do that? How do you make these companies not dependent on this charismatic, intense founder? Yeah, I just called myself charismatic, but hey, we're talking ourselves up today. That's self-esteem. And still leverage those things for what it is, right? Because we want to be able to leverage all the tools we have. We want to no holds barred, use everything we've got, but we don't want to get stuck being so dependent on that founder. Josh, what have you seen creates more independence from the founder's secret sauce vibe?
Yeah, I would say the old adage, work on your business and not in your business. I think when you first start your company, you are everything. When I first started my roofing company, I was the salesperson, I was the installer, I ordered the materials, I was my own runner, I did everything. And as I was able to grow the organization, I started putting people in place in order to manage the tasks that really I needed someone else to help manage. The bandwidth that you have in a day is only 24 hours, right? You got to sleep a little bit. And then as your business starts to scale, you have to realize where is your time best suited. Sometimes you're doing jobs that are $15 an hour, and sometimes you're doing a $200 an hour job. You know, you have to spend more of your time doing this long-term strategy development, human development inside of your business. If you can get to that point, you will get to the point where you have a saleable business. And you
Mm-hmm.
also get to the point where you start breeding and building good, strong level four leaders underneath your leadership. And that's the key to any scaling organization. You cannot scale a company by yourself. You just can't. I mean, like the doctors of the world who go out there and make lots of money, they're only as good as their two hands, and because they've got to perform the surgeries. They can't build organizations there. They have to do the they got to do the work with their hands. Us as entrepreneurs, as leaders of organizations, you can hire staff, you can hire people, you can give them good, strong incentive and direction to start growing within an organization, and you continue to elevate yourself as a leader. And that's what I did since when I started back in '97. When I was 18 years old, when I hired my first shingler, all the way up into to today when I hire a full executive leadership team, overseeing IHS, which is the company that it is today.
Kris?
I think hire character, and then if you fail there, fire fast. But hire character, train, and let them go. Let them do their job. You have to let go of. It took me a while. It took when the sales, that was very hard for me to let go. The
Mm-hmm.
production was even harder, but once I did it, that's when it kind of took the lid off.
Yeah. And for me, and I think a lot of roofing companies, it's like the production part, they're pretty good at letting go of that one sometimes, it seems like, or at least like, a little bit of project management, but it seems like a lot of them are pretty good at that. And then the sales, there's a lot of hyper involvement with sales. For me, it's marketing. I'm just hyper involved with marketing because I have so many opinions. I want to do it all the time. Um, Yeah, so I'm just working on this myself. So I'm trying to like pick your guys' brain on stuff I got going on, right? That's one of my favorite parts about having a podcast is I get to pick super smart people's brains. If I tried to just chat with Josh, on a Zoom call, he'd probably be like, I don't know, but I'm like, get on the podcast.
An excuse
I
to
chat
ask
with people all the time. In fact, I was on a call yesterday with two guys emailed me out of the blue and said, "Hey, we're thinking about starting a roofing company. My brother's an investor, and this other guy is in another space, and he's like, we're thinking about starting a company, and you're the guy to talk to." So I'll talk with anybody. I love helping young entrepreneurs help grow the business. I came from absolutely nothing. I grew up in Oakland, California, to a single mother. I lived in foster care. I'm excited to help entrepreneurs find themselves and help live the American dream. And so I love doing this stuff. I'm doing these talks. I've got a couple of speaking engagements that I have, and I do podcasts all the time. And it's very little benefit to IHS. It's really to help the entrepreneurs realize their dreams.
Well, I've got a little bit of the last topic for like the last 5 minutes or so. Chatting with somebody recently who's considering selling to private equity. And he's concerned. I think one of the things is that it's multiple owners and they want to be able to kind of like make the money make sense a little bit. Like, because they've got too much, there's kind of expensive. The leadership is expensive. It's like a good chunk of people. And this would simplify it by selling, taking chips off the table. It kind of simplify that. And in complex sales, or like what are the right reasons to want to sell to private equity? Like, what are the things that you would say? In this case, I'm talking to this person, I'm thinking it's a little early for them. Like they're at like 6, 7, and I want them to be at like 10. But I also like this person seems very gung ho. They're like very excited about it, and they're ready to get out of the work. They've been kind of in-home sales, even though they're at 6 million, 7 million. They're in-home sales. They've been selling still as an owner, and they're just kind of tired of that. And in this case, they'd be able to like kind of move on to a different thing.
Yeah.
Well, is that the right reason, or what is the right reason, I guess, to sell, and what is the wrong reason?
Yeah, I mean, that's up to the individual, really. I guess, John Maxwell talks about the law of the lid, which is a lot of times the entrepreneur in the room is a limiting factor of the growth of their business. Either they're burnt out or they just don't have the intellectual curiosity or just don't want to grow as a leader. That might be a reason. You've got, one or two people or three people underneath you that you've hired, been with you a long time, that really have a lot of growth potential, but you're kind of holding them back. So that might be a reason you want to depart. Taking some chips off the table from a financial perspective. The vast majority of the business owners in roofing, HVAC, home services, their net worth is tied up in the ownership of their business. And so it's an opportunity to cash in some of that, create some liquidity in the value of the business, yet stay in the roofing industry if you're gonna roll equity. It's about the upward mobility of your people. We have at IHS specifically, we hire a lot of people internal. And so a lot of folks who work at our central IHS team came from the brands. And so if you've
Mm.
got really strong people at the brands and you want to see them maybe grow to a regional or national position, then we there's that opportunity as well. And so, but it's not an easy choice, Tim. I'll tell you that right now. I remember, the night that I was supposed to close the next day, that night I didn't sleep, and I'm thinking this is either a good decision or it's the worst decision I've ever made in my life. I spent, 20 years building this business. I've got family, friends, employees been with me over 15 years. I was afraid, and I was fortunate that all the things that were said to me before came to fruition after. Like, they were a good, ethical, strong, good moral scruples company, and then we did it again, and again we're still excited about the company we're at now. So there is that old, you just never know. It's
Talk about scruples for a second. Just the word scruples. It's good.
yeah,
I usually hear it in terms like unscrupulous, but the
unscrupulous,
opposite
yeah.
of unscrupulous is like
Gotta have them.
unethical.
Gotta have scruples.
Scrupulous. I just don't
Yeah.
hear scruples very often, so I'm happy that you've used it twice during this conversation.
Yeah, it's funny. I coined that vision statement a long time in 2005 when I left that office and almost kicked the crap out of that guy for ripping Betty off. And yeah, I'm like, I'm going to rid the world of unscrupulous contractors, and it was just it stuck, and I've used it ever since. And um, but
Well,
listen,
and
yeah,
I was gonna say
go ahead.
it's real. It's real.
Yeah.
I was with Josh a couple of weeks ago. We get together as a group regularly, and we'll sit in a room, multiple brand presidents and managers, and we'll just talk about different topics for an entire day. It's just 8 hours of nonstop sharing and growing. And I shared with Josh just recently that we had a wasn't a customer of ours, but it was someone in our community who had been taken advantage of by an unscrupulous contractor.
Mm.
And this retired gentleman spent he spent $38,000 on a roof that we would have done the entire project for $13,000 to $15,000. They stole from him. I told Josh this, and I thought his head was going to pop off. He was so mad. But that's what we're about is being we feel that we know we're going to take care of every customer. We know we are. We know if we
Yeah.
make a mistake, we're going to fix it. And so if we can get that, if the customer is our customer, we know they're taking care of it, and we've taken them out of harm's way.
Yeah, I think about that as like the golden rule, but I like scruples too. So I'm just happy we all have scruples.
It's a good word.
It's really good.
You have to start marshaling that word around now.
Oh,
Yeah.
I'm gonna use scruples like 2 or 3 more times today for sure.
Wait,
Remember the got milk? Well, got scruples.
yeah, got scruples.
Josh has got scruples. Chris has got scruples.
We did trademark our vision statement because it's so fire. It's
You're a
also funny. It's
company-
interesting. I'll just give you one more piece.
Yeah.
It's funny. Early on, they say, "Wow, what?" Because we did really nice in our transaction the first time, and we made almost 10 times our money. And so a lot of these smaller PE firms are coming in and buying 2 or 3 businesses, and they're telling them all they're going to make 10 times their money, which isn't going to happen. And there's no leadership team. But meanwhile, my inbox in LinkedIn is just littered with CEO opportunities. Like, hey, come run our CEO company, or come be the CEO of our, private equity backed strategy. We've got 3 companies, we have 4 companies. And what's shocking to me, frankly, is that somebody would sell their company to a PE firm that had no leadership. That means there's no vision, there's no purpose. Why do you exist? Where are you going? How is that company going to operate? Are they going to be command and control? Or are they going to allow a lot of autonomy at the local level? You have no idea. You just sold your company and you're just hoping and praying. Like that to me is crazy. Unless you're just kind of walking away, I'm done,
And most of the people, it's not usually just done, right? Like most of these, you got a couple years overlap at least, but a lot of times it's like 5.
Right.
Well, if you've got scruples, hit up Josh, talk to Kris, consider their roll up here. I guess how many companies are part of it now?
We have 22.
22.
partners.
22 from just a shingler. My dude.
That's right.
That's incredible. I mean, 22. Well, anyways, I just like it, Josh. You know, I like to imagine myself as part of this industry. And we go out and shingle roofs sometimes as people on my marketing firm and my leadership, just because we want to understand our customers a little bit better. We try to be in the trenches. So to see somebody who came from that, we love this industry like it's our own now, you know? So it's just cool to see somebody that came from that now doing this.
You know, for years in Wisconsin, you know, you get kind of the winter off because you can't really roof in the winter. So once your body gets used to it, it's okay during the week. Actually, it's not too bad. But the first roof you do when you come out of winter, you can't move your hands. If you're on a steep slope, your calves are burning, like you're just feeling some kind of way. And I mean, I train all the time, but I don't do that type of repetitive roofing anymore. I just moved to Nashville and had all of our shit moved down here. And I unpacked boxes for about 8 hours, just ripping boxes apart. The next morning I woke up and I couldn't open my hands. And I'm thinking back to my roofing days. I'm like, oh my
Yeah.
God, I don't miss this. Like, I don't
You
miss
probably have
this.
soft hands now, like me.
Oh, hell no, they're not soft. Look at this.
Those are spreadsheet hands, buddy.
Yeah. Marketing
Chris,
hands.
you got
Marketing
some
hands too.
calluses over there, or what do you got going on? He
No,
hasn't ripped a
not
house in a
anymore.
second either.
No,
Chris,
Yeah.
you
they're
roofed some
pretty.
houses back in the day, though.
I did more. I was more of a built houses, so that was my
Oh,
background.
okay. Incredible.
Framing.
Well, guys, I really appreciate you guys chatting with me about this. Where can people go to get a hold of you, Josh?
They can go right to our website, infinityhomeservices.com. We also have a couple of folks that are, you know, talking to contractors all the time in the Midwest. Ross Cochran, one of our brand presidents from Cochran Roofing, and also Tom Bash, who's on the East Coast and kind of goes up and on the East Coast talking to contractors. So you
I
can catch
guess
them on
one
LinkedIn
last
or
little
you can.
question. What's the front end? What's the bottom kind of like consideration revenue that you would
You know, typically we're
cover?
looking for, I mean, from a partnership perspective, we're looking for residential retail roofing companies. So not a lot of storm work, not a lot of new construction work. You know, revenue of 7-8 million and an EBITDA or profitability roughly 750,000 or more is kind of the floor roughly of what we're looking at, and
Awesome.
then
I
up
had
to
American
whatever.
Home Contract. Sorry. I
American Home,
had
yeah, those are our boys over on the East
American
Coast.
Home
Tesla.
on our podcast talking about the recurring revenue model that they have and some of the stuff they're doing. So cool, dude. But yeah, thank you guys for being on and appreciate everyone for watching. Please like, comment, and subscribe so more people see this, and appreciate you guys. Bye.
Thanks, Tim.
Awesome, Tim.